Hello everybody, my name is Walter and today I want to show you how you can build two pretty simple 2x4 pop-up wall block swappers. So long name, but what I do is pretty simple. So you can see I have this 2x4 configuration of blocks, in this case here horizontal and vertical up there, and a lever. And if I flick that lever, this group of blocks gets swapped out entirely. As you can see, works in both directions, the same here. And that's basically what these things here do. They allow you to completely swap out blocks that are in front of the wall in a 2x4 grid. So that's what those things here do. Now let's talk about the sizes of those builds. The horizontal version is a bit more compact. It's in total 5 blocks high. It's 4 blocks behind the wall, and if you count the wall and the space it extends into, it's 6 blocks long. And in total, it's 20 blocks wide. The vertical version is a bit bigger. It's still the 4 or 6 blocks long, 6 blocks wide, and 21 blocks high. So, and a bit bigger than the other version. It's also much more expensive, as you will see in a moment. So, if you need a 2x4, this one here is a bit easier to build and less expensive. Anyway, let's talk about the resources. So, to build the horizontal version, you're gonna need, of course, building blocks. Then 24 redstone dust, a single torch, 15 repeaters, 2 observers, 16 normal pistons and 80 sticky pistons, and a lever. And maybe some additional redstone wire to relocate the lever. For the vertical version, you will need a bit more, especially when it comes to observers. But let's start at the beginning. So you're gonna need, of course, building blocks, then 30 redstone dust, 13 torches, 19 repeaters, 21 observers, 16 pistons, and 18 sticky pistons, plus the lever again. So quite a bit more expensive. But anyway, that's basically all you're gonna need. So let me show you how to build those two block swappers. Okay, so for the horizontal version, start with marking the place where the blocks will be pushed through, which is this 2 high, 4 wide gap in this wall segment. Then go behind the entire thing, and there go 3 blocks towards the back. And that's where you start with your double piston extenders, right in front of the gap we just marked out, which should make a 2x2x4 block of sticky pistons, as you can see here. There should be 1 wide of a gap in between the wall and the pistons. Then grab normal blocks, place them on top of the front pistons and the gap, and put redstone dust on top. Then on the left side, place an observer on top of the piston there with a full block on top. Then behind this block, another block with a torch towards the left of the build and some redstone wire on top. Then below that, place a row of 4 blocks with redstone dust right behind those top pistons. Then on the right side, place blocks on top of the 2 wire there, and then a raised block on top of the gap. One redstone wire here, a repeater there on 4 ticks. Then on the right side, first go 1 block down, and then 2 below that we need another block. Place a repeater on 4 ticks here. Some redstone wire on top of this one. Then an observer powering downwards here. Again, some redstone dust on top. Now, right below the observer, a full block. Then, let's go and first place a block here with a repeater on 4 ticks top. This runs into a sticky piston with a block on top. Then 2 blocks following that. Again, 2 repeaters on 4 ticks on top. This runs into a full block. Then hovering below, another full block with redstone dust on top. Then we go 1 layer down and 1 towards the front. Redstone dust here. Repeater on 1 tick this time, running into a full block. And then we have a up and down of full blocks until we are just 1 apart from the sticky pistons. And then we make a corner like this towards this block we placed earlier. Place redstone dust in this gap and then repeaters on 2 ticks each in those 3 gaps here. Grab normal pistons and place them in a 2 by 4, as you can see here. Now let's go to the left side. Here we start with a block diagonally to the torch with some redstone dust on top. This runs into nothing, because now we go down here, place a lower block there with, again, a repeater on 4 ticks, with a block right behind it, which should be below the block we placed diagonally to the torch. Then a lower block here with a repeater on 4 ticks again, running into another sticky piston with full block on top. Then we have a lowered block there, and a repeater again. This runs into a full block. Then we have a lowered block, and another lowered block, and a block towards the front. Then we go up, and now we should be basically in line with what we had with the up and down on the other side, which we now repeat again. So up and down a few more times until we are one apart from the sticky pistons there, and once more we just go around the corner here. Wire there, 3 wire here, 3 repeaters on 2 ticks there, then a 2 by 4 of normal pistons, and then let's place a block, for example, here, because this line of wire here is our actual input. So let's place the lever there, and now, before we forget it, let's place in the blocks that need to be pushed in. For now, I will have just iron blocks. I will replace this in a cut in just a few seconds. Let's quickly fill this in so we can test out if everything works. So let's flick the lever, double action and extension. And if we flick the lever again, retraction, full extension, and once more extension. So that's working fine now. The last part with that is obviously putting something a bit more interesting into the block swapper and also filling in a few other things. And voila. So as you can see, now I filled in the wall and replaced those blocks here and also relocated the lever. On the subject of relocating the lever, if you want to connect to the wire at the back here with the wire on top of the observer, make sure that before you actually change the shape of that wire and trigger the observer, you disconnect that observer from this line at the back here. So for example, either remove this block or the repeater. And then obviously you need to replace it again. Or otherwise, you will trigger the system at the back here, and this group of blocks will be sucked into or behind the wall, and the entire system will break down a bit. So to avoid that little issue, make sure that once you have connected everything again, those blocks here are at the outside. If you have the problem that the blocks are in this position here, as you can see, you can easily fix that by just putting lever there and quickly flickering it, and everything should work out again. And well, that's the end for the horizontal version, which means now it's time to talk about the vertical version. For the vertical version, start with marking the 2 wide 4 high gap in the future wall where the blocks will be pushed through. Once you have done that, go from the gap 9 blocks down, or from this ring here 8 blocks. So 2, 4, 6, and 8. Then go 2 blocks towards the back, and that's where you place a 2 by 2 of normal blocks. Then remove at least this block here. You could also remove all of these blocks. You can also leave them in, since they will be part of the future wall anyway. Once you have this 2 by 2, start with redstone wire at the back and 2 repeaters powering forward on 1 tick each, like so. Then on top of the left wire, place an observer. Then make this a 2 by 2 platform. Put a full block on top of the observer, some wire here, and 2 repeaters on 2 ticks this time. Then we somewhat mirror this, a layer above. The repeaters on 3 ticks this time. And one last mirror with repeaters on 4 ticks this time. And the repeaters should aim at right below this ring here. Then while we're there, let's actually start placing in some 2x4 of normal pistons. Then at the top here we need a block towards the right with a repeat on one tick, taking an output which runs into a full block, and then a raised block towards the back, put down 2 redstone wire and an observer on top. Then let's go down again. Start with a raised block behind this wire on the right side. Then we need 2 lowered blocks, a repeat on 4 ticks and on 3 ticks. Then a sticky piston with a full block right there. Then place a block in front of the piston with some redstone dust on top. Follow that up with a block towards the front like here. Put a torch on top. Now you will have this kind of situation here where those pistons extend, which is not an issue. Put redstone dust on top of this block. Then we need to go 1 block up and towards the back, where we place a block, then a torch right there. Redstone dust on top. Now we have another flat step of our torch tower. So we go from the redstone wire towards the back 2 times. Place a block with a torch there. Redstone dust on top. Now another flat layer. And one last flat layer. So now we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 torches. Now we have a steep layer again. So we go twice up from the torch there. Place the block, torch, redstone wire. And now we have another flat layer. Like so. This time no redstone wire on top, instead another torch. And that will be for now our actual input. So as you can see, when I turn off the lever, the sequence here runs. And that's the bottom more or less done. Which means it's now time for the middle. For that, first go 3 blocks back from the wall. And that's where you place the 2x4 of double piston extenders. Let me quickly fill that in. And as you can see, now I have this blob of sticky pistons with a 1 wide gap to the wall. Then go behind the entire thing, and on the right side of the build, which is the left side when you look at it from the back, you start at the bottom piston, then you go in a zigzagging pattern up, put redstone dust in on top of those 2 blocks. Then we need a block next to this wire and in the observer there, put redstone full block on top. Then repeat on 4 ticks running into this block here. Now we first go up twice with blocks diagonally, then 1 towards the left, and then twice down again. Place a block here, and then a repeat on 4 ticks, which runs into empty space. Then place an observer looking at each of those 2 repeaters here. Now we need another zigzagging pattern of blocks, as you can see here, with redstone dust on top of those 2 blocks, and the same on the left side. Just like in this here. Then place a block on top of this torch, torch on top. Observer right behind the torch, running into a full block, and then place 6 redstone dust on top of this wire, or this line of blocks at the back there. Now it's time for the top part. So for that we go back to our torch tower here, add 1 more torch to it on top, then a block towards the back with a repeat on 4 ticks taking an output, which runs into a full block with a torch on top. Then block on top, torch towards the front, block on top, torch towards the front again, block on top, this time redstone dust on top. Then towards the right of that we need a sticky piston with a full block on top. Towards the back another block with a repeat on 4 ticks, running into a full block. Then towards the right of that full block we need 2 observers for now. place redstone dust on top of those blocks, then 2 blocks towards the front with repeaters on 1 tick each on top. Then below each of those observers, place 4 more observers. So we should have 5 observers in total going down. Grab 2 observers, place them right below those blocks here. Then 2 blocks below that again. Then let's go and add 2 full blocks down there. Another 2 blocks on top of the pistons there. This time we place repeaters on 2 ticks each, running towards the front. And now we need again our null pistons. Start right in front of those top repeaters there. And make this a 2x4 of pistons. And that should already be all of the circuitry. So now let's again fill in the blocks. So below those pistons here we need a 2x4. And since those pistons here have already extended, let's directly place them in situ, like that. Now let's flick the lever. This should retract, those pistons extend, and now we have those blocks pushed out, and that piston extender there pushed together again. Flick the lever again, and as you can see, this is working quite nicely. Last part is finishing this up, which means obviously filling in the wall and replacing those blocks here, and also relocating the lever a bit. Now with this kind of setup here, you can, for example, power this block from the bottom with a torch. There is enough space here, so you're not interfering with the circuitry. You could also power it simply from the side. In this case, I went with just putting the torch right on this block here on the wall. And that's basically how you can build the vertical version. And with that, we have reached the end of this tutorial for these 2 simple 2x4 pop-up wall block swappers. I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial, and well, see ya!